Okay, good morning or afternoon or evening. We are going to do a section on the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is kind of your final option if you can't factor a quadratic equation, and it works, I think, all the time. So you can always do it. So here we go. All right. So first of all, we got to, in order to apply the quadratic formula, you got to make sure uh, your quadratic equation is in the standard form. So again, the standard form would be ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Okay, so again, standard form means the number of the exponent would decrease, and of course, if it's quadratic, the first one has to be uh, to the second power, a squared variable. Okay, so in the first example here, it's already in standard form. So you're supposed to just identify your A. In this case, your A would be equal to 2, your B is equal to 3, and the constant, the last term, in this case, is equal to 11. Okay, so it's straightforward there. So we're just identifying A, B, and C. Once I give you the quadratic equation, we would then plug those in certain places. Okay, so let's look at this next one. We got to get this next one into standard form. So in this one, we've got 2x squared equals 3x plus 9. And this is not in the standard form because we want it to be equal to 0 and we want the exponents to be descending. So we're just going to move the 3x and the 9 to the left side. So everything cancels out on that side, and we're left with 0 on the right side. And then if I take everything here, that leaves us with 2x squared minus 3x minus 9. Okay, so again, now that that's in the standard form, we're just identifying A is equal to 2, B is equal to negative 3, and C is equal to negative 9. A common mistake would be to forget your signs. That's just kind of keep in mind. I included negative signs because it wasn't just a 3x; it was a negative 3x. Okay, last one real quick. Just this one's a little bit different. So we're starting out 5x squared equals negative 25x. Okay, so again, we want to move the 25x over. So this time it's negative, so we're going to add 25x to both sides. We want to get it equal to 0. We want the exponents to be in descending order. So that gives us 5x squared plus 25x. Okay. So that is how is that one different? It doesn't have a third term. So we see that the term next to the x squared is 5. The term by itself is 25. And since there's not a third term, we're just going to call that 0. Okay. All right, now we're going to use this to some quadratic equations using the formula. Okay, so I'm going to put the formula up in the corner here. So formula looks a little bit ugly, but it simplifies okay most of the time. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And all of that is going to go over 2a. Okay. I'd probably be coughing a little bit. I got allergies again. Okay, so step number 1 here is standard form. So if we're starting off with r squared equals negative 3r plus 10, I want to have the right side of the equation be 0. So I want to get rid of my 3r and my 10 by doing the opposite operation. So when I add those to the left side, oops, that's not a plus, that's a minus. Okay, so the right side will simplify to 0. And on the left side, we've got the r squared plus the 3r minus the 10. And my exponents go from 2 to 1 to no exponent. So therefore, I know that my a is equal to 1, the number next to the r, which there is none, so that'd be a 1. The b is equal to 3, and my c is equal to negative 10. Okay, so that brings us up to this quadratic equation here. So I'm just going to plug in my numbers. So I've got a negative, what's my b? My b term is 3, so negative b. I'm getting that from up top here, by the way. Okay, so negative b plus or minus, and then inside the square root, it's going to be b squared. So again, my b is 3. Now we're doing minus 4ac minus 4. My a is 1, and my c is negative 10. Okay. And on the bottom, I have this 2a here. So 2, and what is my a? My a is 1. Okay. All right. So again, all that I've done is I've replaced everything in this quadratic formula here. I plugged in my B, my B, my B, my AC, my A. So I just plugged in the numbers to that formula there. Okay, so now I'm going to simplify things a little bit. So negative 3 plus or minus, and then this negative 3 squared down here in the radical, negative 3 times negative 3 would be positive 9. And then the minus 4 times the 1 times the negative 10, that would give us positive 40. Okay, then on the bottom, we have 2 times 1 is 2. So essentially, all I did was I multiplied through inside the radical here, and it simplified fairly nicely. Okay, so and it simplified nicely because plus or minus, because inside the square root, 40 plus 9 gives us 49. Okay, and we know the square root of 49 is 7. Okay, so let me keep going here. So I've got negative 3 plus or minus 7 now over 2, because the square root of 49 is 7. So my final answers will be to remember you have two solutions to most quadratic equations. So I'm going to add the 7. So my x will be equal to negative 3. Let me do that up here. So negative 3 plus 7 would be 4. And the 2 would stay on the bottom. And the negative 3 minus 7 would be negative 10. And there's still 2 in the bottom. So just to kind of go back to where I got the 4 and the 10. So to get that 4, I did negative 3 here plus 7, because it's plus or minus. That gave us a 4 over 2. So that gave us the first term. But then I want to go back and do negative 3 minus 7. and negative 3 minus 7 gives us negative 10. That 4 over 2 simplifies to 2, and the negative 10 over 2 simplifies to negative 5. Okay, so our solutions will be 2 and negative 5. Okay. I'm going to go over one similar example. If you think you got this down here, you can skip to the last problem. The last problem is a little bit different, so you should probably watch the last one because it doesn't simplify quite as nice as this one. Okay, so this one is already in order. So A is equal to 36, B is equal to negative 12, and C is equal to 1. And my quadratic formula is x equals, b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so I'm going to just start out by plugging my points here. So using this quadratic formula, x is equal to b. What's my b? My b is negative 12 plus or minus, and then inside my square root, I'm going to do b squared again. I'm going to use my b again, so it'd be negative 12 squared minus 4 times a times c. My a is 36, and my c is 1. Okay, so I've done nothing but plug in my a, b, and c into the quadratic formula, and then the bottom would be 2 over a, and a again is 36. Okay, so here was the quadratic formula, and I just plugged in my a, b, and c here to get that. Now I'm just going to use operations to simplify. So negative 12 stays the same, plus or minus. And then here's where a lot of the simplification is going to happen. Negative 12 squared would be 12 times 12, or 144, minus 4 times 36, I believe is 144. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So that gives us, it's going to simplify inside of the 0. So 144 minus 144 is 0. But on the bottom, we still have the 2 over 36. 2 times 36 is 72. Okay. So to go up here again, I've got negative 12 plus or minus the square root of 0 over 72. Okay, so whether or not you add 0, square root of 0 is 0. So I'd end up with negative 12 over 72. And I said usually we have two answers in quadratic equations, because not always. And in this case, we only have this one answer. And then I believe we'd want to simplify that. So 12 times says it, is that going evenly? I forget this 12. 12 times 5 would be 60. And then, okay, it does. So that would be equal to negative 1/6, I believe. Okay, and this video is getting a little bit long, and I got to get to class. So I'm going to hold off on the last example. It's the last two problems on the Math Excel assignment, so I can either make a video, or you can look at the example, or you can ask me. But either way, I'll see you in class. So good luck, and let me know if you have any questions. See you in class.